All right, ladies and gents, hello, welcome on board. Another wonderful morning to you. Good morning from where I am. You find me today here on the tarmac of Singapore Changi International Airport, and the plan for today is this. We're operating Singapore Airlines Flight 328 Singapore to Munich on the iniBuilds Airbus A350-900, not a ULR version, just a regular one. Obviously now it's a relatively long flight, so we're not going to be on stream the whole time. We're going to get started here. We've got about 20 minutes for our departure. So we're going to get the aircraft set up, performance done, and we're going to get started with a push. We're going to taxi around to the active here in Singapore and depart. And as we head out over Malaysia, Thailand, we can talk a little bit about the first part of the flight, which is going to be an ETP, an ETOP segment. ETP is the equal time point, but yeah, it's going to be an ETOP segment. So we'll talk a little bit about what ETOPS is, what the requirements are, and how effectively we could fly ETOPS with all the information that we need now coming out of the aircraft. There's a good chance that the stream for the arrival into Munich may not happen. That's because today I'm on standby, so my actual job might call me and tell me to come fly. Womp womp, not great. So let's jump right in. Let's get started. So the external walk around's been completed. Just wanted to show you guys here the Airbus A350-900. The jet bridge hasn't quite connected completely either. I'm not really sure why. I know there's an update that's required for there's an update that's required on GSX that I haven't done today. So maybe that will fix things. All right, let's go on in. Here we are in the flight deck. Obviously now we've got air traffic control here in Singapore. The reason we have picked to do the flight from Singapore to Munich today is specifically for air traffic control coverage. I'm one of those guys who like having ATC for departure and arrival. I'm not particularly fussed about having ATC fully en route because there's not really much going on. Unless, of course, I'm flying over event traffic, in which case I do like to hear how exciting it can get. But for the most part, it's quite dull, quite boring. So that's our flight, the Airbus A350-900. We're in November Victor, sorry, Niner Victor Sierra Mike Echo. Flight number 328 from Singapore Changi to Munich. Let's get all of this. The chocks are on, GPU's on. Let's get the air conditioning unit as well. Can get quite warm in Singapore, and everyone's going to be nice and happy here. We're not going to do the boarding because we are slightly tight on the time, and that's completely my fault. Here's the latest weather condition in Singapore. It's currently 170 at 10 knots. Great visibility, I'm not going to write that. We've got a few towering cumulonimbus at 1,800. Not really a big threat unless they start towering right over the airfield. That might be a bit more threatening. 31 degrees 1007. That's a TAF. We're expecting further on during the day some thunderstorms and rain. This is quite standard for the tropical weather in Singapore. Always an evening rain. Munich, light showers of rain, Birken at 500 at the moment, overcast. Also got some TCUs 1 at 1010. And on our routing, we estimate that we're going to arrive in Munich in about 12 hours. So we're going to depart at 25. About 12 hours is going to give us 18:25, and that's going to be the weather window around here. We're expecting 2,000 meters in light snow on arrival, so a little bit of cold weather operations as well on the arrival to Munich. I desperately hope I don't get called to work because this is a lot more exciting. For now, let's see where they call me to work. I have kind of a feeling that they are going to call me. The OFP is going to be loaded up now. That's that. So you can see here 12 hours 26 minutes, and if my math is correct, we're going to arrive at 19:19. That's the estimated time of arrival, provided we go at 25. I think 20 minutes to taxi out of Singapore can be expected. It is a decently large airport. The way the wind's blowing, I'm going to have to check which runways to use. Probably runway 20 is one of them here in Singapore. Yeah, but that's a long flight, and we're going to land at 19:19, which is the weather window that we talked about, light snow. Also in the window for München Mittwoch, so it's a Wednesday, and it's their weekly event there in Munich between 17:30 Zulu and 20:30 Zulu, so it's going to be quite a bit of traffic. If you follow the stream last week, we also flew to Munich on Wednesday. At that time it was on an Oman Air Boeing 737 MAX 8, and that was about a 6.5-hour flight. Our flight today will take us roughly the same routing. Let me just show you if I can pull that up here on the en route chart. Maybe. Okay, so our flight will take us. I need to find a way to unlock it. Okay, well I'm just going to zoom out so you get the plan. So our flight today is going to take us from Singapore. We're going to go up over the Bay of Bengal, the Andaman Sea. We'll cross the Indian subcontinent, fly into Oman there. We'll go through the system here from the UAE up towards Bahrain, Kuwait, Iraq. We'll come out the other side over the Turkish islands in Anatolia. Cross those near the Black Sea, we'll switch over into Bulgaria, plus Romania, potentially, definitely through Hungary and Austria before finally commencing our descent in Austria for an arrival into Munich, and the whole thing's going to take us about 12 hours. I expect to stay connected for the first 2 hours of our journey, potentially up to 3 hours, just so we can discuss the ETP and complications and good things about that, and then we'll head on out. Take a break, and then we'll come back somewhere, I think close to Budapest is a good time to come back, so we can prepare for the arrival. The IRS is being aligned. That nav data is out of date. We need to get that sorted out. That'd be a bit of a challenge because I'm using SIM update 4, and if I'm not mistaken, SIM update 4 has some nav data problems. So let's go ahead and see if we can update our nav data. Okay, 46.14. All right. Nav data is downloaded. Navigraph nav data updated. Is that so? Let's go back to data status. Okay, good. So it is in fact updated. Good. So we're flying with updated nav data. Today is ARAC day, ladies and gents, so you might need to update that as well. But we've got for the dispatch purpose of our flight, we've got the updated ARAC data. Very nice. So just to get ourselves started, let's go ahead and request a company flight plan. That should show up shortly. And while we do that, we can. Oh, it's already here. Received. Let me bring this up front here so I can do a little bit of texting while flying. Nothing quite as exciting. Check database cycle. Okay, well we discussed that, so it's still looking sense. Now we're still okay. Waiting for insertion. I thought it was inserted. Yes, it is inserted. So I'm just going to take a quick look. Yankee 513, 504. Well, it's quite a long list to look through. Is there a way to see how long the flight is? Mike 8. Okay, so it looks about right. I mean, I know these airways. Lima 602. Mike 860 is after Tasmi is in the Iraqi FIR, and then it becomes UM 816 in Ankara FIR, Sierra Romeo Tango, Charlie Romeo Mike, and then we switch over to another airway, and Negem, Namsa. These are all airways that are, sorry, those are all waypoints that are in Eastern and West Central and Western Europe that we're going to fly through. No discos except for this one here, and we're going to go ahead and set up an arrival shortly. Good, company wind request. Let's go ahead and set that up as well. And I do love me some airport maps, so let's go ahead and zoom that in as well for both the guys. Yeah, both of us are going to be on the same page. 12 minutes to go for departure. Still got to load up all the fuel. it's stuck. Oh, okay. Alright, so it does seem to be working. Waiting for the wind to be inserted, let's set that. Let's clarify. No, there was often like a little problem with iniBuilds and being able to get the correct information at the end in terms of fuel burn and all that stuff, but let's see how that progresses today. For our charts today, because this is also Lido, you'll be able to follow me through on what I'm talking about. APC, we're going to use APC 1, which is where we are, somewhere around here in Terminal 3 at Changi, and I believe we are on stand low. Okay, don't know which stand exactly we're on, but we're here, I think. Yeah, we're here. I think it's Alpha 10 or something. And then we also have a chance to look at our AGC. Just a quick overview, but we're mostly interested in what's happening on the west of the airport in this sector. And we're going to use 20's right over center for departure. How I know that? Based on the wind. Is a good plan. Now, we had the altimeter from the Folds 1007. I can go ahead and take that. I don't know if it's quite accurate. We're going to get an ATC now. And we're also going to try to request a TCL if we can. 1007, 1007. And here as well, 1007. Let's go down to ATC communicate VATSIM. And we're going to request clearance, departure clearance. Oh, well, let's get additional ATC before we do that. Right, departure 8 is Papa, 530, departing runway 20 center, squawk mode Charlie on all taxiways. Taxiway designations may not be accurate on scenery, refer to charts. The wind is what we had, TCUs that we talked about. Temperature 31, dew point 231,007, departure's initial point 3000, since that's already here, we can go ahead and set that up. And that was information up. Good, that's received. Let's go ahead and set Papa. Want to make sure we stand we're up before we like to get the so it looks like we are on stand Alpha 10. And the gate Alpha 10. Transfer the mailbox. Request pre-departure Singapore 329. Let's set that off. We should get that shortly. Just by looking at it off runway 20, let's see, which one was that? I've forgotten already. 20 center, wasn't it? Just based on the fact that we're taking 20 center for departure, which is this one here, we can expect a long taxi. Let's take a look at the SIDs. We're going towards waypoint Oroso, so we can see Oroso 3 Alpha and 5 Bravo might be the ones that we need. Nope. Those, oh, actually yes, 20 center heading across, that's an Oroso, and that looks to me Oroso 5 Bravo. You know what, I think that's going to be it. So we can go ahead and set it up, and we'll just confirm when the ATC, when the departure clearance comes through that we have in fact got the right. Departing runways 20 center, and the Oroso 5 Bravo departure is in. Temporary flat band is verified, there's no discos. No discos seems like we can save that. A few constraints here. Let's look at fuel and stuff before we get to let's just import that some brief. How many people are we taking today? We're taking hello. Okay, let's set this in. No wait. Set fuel. Let's turn fuel. Great, so we're taking 242 passengers out of the potential 324. Few in first, few in premium eco. Yeah, everyone's going to be pretty happy. Fuel, we're taking today 83695. I'm going to call it 836. And we need, that's exactly what we need for our flight. That's quite accurate. Got fuels there, payloads there. We're just waiting to receive our ATC clearance. Let's monitor his frequency to see how busy he is. That's 123.7 for Singapore Center or radar. Swap that around there. Hong Kong 2, we're going to do 1215. So we can go meow on it just to make sure people are awake. Please don't do that. It's quite annoying. You're gonna hear me call you out on guard. You're on guard, mate. If you do that. So you as well, if you want to use the same guy, So waiting for an air traffic clearance. Let's take a look at constraints, airports in the area. Let's track both our stuff. Okay, so I think you might be a little bit busy looking at. Let's do a briefing, departure briefing, while we wait. So threats for today's departure, extended taxi time, so we're going to be careful with the brakes. It's quite hot as well in Singapore, so and we're heavy. So gentle gentle application of the brakes is what we're looking for. Let's also take a look at Singapore. So we are here at Alpha 10. We expect to push on to Victor 12, take Victor all the way up. Possibly cross over on Quebec, Papa, or November. There's 3 options there, so make sure we get the right one. I think Quebec seems to be the best option, all things considered. Once we're there, we are going to carry on in Quebec. Join Tango 1 will be prepared for a full-length departure from 20 center, but in case of any tactical rerouting of our holding point, we're going to have performance from Tango 3, just in case. I'll go ahead and figure out how much that is using my charts here, and then we're going to use that for departure, Tango 3 interception. After departure, we are expecting to be cleared on the Aroso 5 Bravo departure. He's quite busy. I'm going to have to ask for a voice mate departure.
Can I identify the available?
20 center. Departing 20 center. I'm going to turn him down a little bit so we're not completely bothered by what's going on. Okay, good. So it's going to be runway 20 center, the Ibixu first 1500, the Ibiza 2500 or above, Dubot 4000, Adpon, Saru 7000 when we come back to Tekong VOR, and then Pakoma, and our arrival 1000 or above, Ahmed, and then Orozo. RNAVs required, units required, radars required, max 230 knots until passing 4000. I'm going to have to scratch that down so I remember, max 230 until 4000. Yep, so I should remember that aircraft unable to fly SID shall inform ATC prior to departure and expect radar vectors. We're going to look at one more chart. We're going to look at the RMP approach for 20 center. The reason we're looking at that is because this tends to keep the aircraft in the safe zone, and we're going to prepare for the worst case scenario for an engine failure. So before 100 knots anything comes up, I'm going to reject. Reject maneuver, close to thrust levers, speed brakes will verify the auto braking is working. Very loud, this guy. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We'll verify braking. The next course of action is depending on the brake temperature, injuries, technical status of the aircraft. But we'll try to vacate the runway to the right if possible, or to the left, in fact, because if we go left, there's really not a lot going on the eastern side of Changi, so we can get out of everybody's way. So yeah, I think we'll go left. Of course, permission with the scenery as well, if it actually makes sense to us. Beyond the 100 knots, we're going to carry on. We're only going to stop for any form of fire warning. An aircraft unsafe, unable to fly, or predicted wind shear, or any form of engine failure. I'd also add smoke events. If you get thick smoke, we're also going to carry the project. In all cases, we stop the aircraft, parking brake set. I'll go on the PA, and I'll say, "Oh guys, cabin crew, take your at your stations," or something along those lines. We'll advise the tower, and then we'll carry on actions as required, and we'll come to a full stop and full reassess. In case of an engine failure after departure, beyond V1, we'll carry it into the air. Below 400 feet, we'll say nothing. At 400 feet, I'm going to pull heading, and we'll fly runway heading. Autopilot's going to be pitched. And once we're past, once we're happy with the way the aircraft's flying, we're going to identify the engine problem. Shut down the engine appropriately if required, or if not, we'll leave it. We'll assess that situation there. Other way, at about 1,500 feet, we'll make a left turn to waypoint Ixomo, which is why I wanted the RNAV chart. We'll turn left to Exomo to hold at Exomo. 338 inbound with right turns, minimum 4,000, we're clear to 3,000. So we'll declare Mayday and request 4,000 to climb to Exomo. Now, I need to find a way to put that fix here. I don't know how I'm supposed to do that, so if any of you have any ideas on how to actually use fix info page on this airplane, that would be amazing. CMS, no flight plan info, fix info, there we go. So we're gonna reference the ident Exomo, and this is where we will go if things aren't working out for us in Exomo. That should show up on our plan somewhere here. There it is. So yeah, we'll go ahead and set Exomo up there if anything goes wrong, and then we'll just fly to Exomo, set up a hold, and we'll join the hold of Exomo. Departure brief complete. We still haven't received tower clearance, so we're now going to ask this gentleman. Seems busy. Let me turn back the ATC sound for you so you can actually hear what's going on. Let me know if it's too loud or not loud enough. I don't actually know how you hear it.
Zero mark decimal 8 to 8.
Okay. Singapore 328 heavy.
432 Singapore radar.
Hello Singapore radar, Singapore 328, we have information Papa, we're waiting to pick up our IFR clearance to Munich.
432, let me check Quebec number, stand by for clearance.
We'll check Quebec 328. Alright, let's check information Quebec, is that correct? We should be pushing back now, but we've got about 40-minute buffer before we're gonna miss the event in Munich, which I think we should still be able to do it. So here's information Quebec now. Departing runway 20 center, Squawk Charlie on all the taxiways. Taxi up, same thing, 17010, 10 kilometers. Cloud base is similar, but this new scatter layer is now right 30 degrees, 1006. Thank you, let's go ahead and set that down. 1006. So while we wait for him, we can go ahead and do a performance. I'm going to use sim brief performance for my own peace of mind. I don't know, I feel like iniBuilds I feel like iniBuilds has a very balanced field sort of thing, and doesn't unbalance the field necessarily. The numbers seem a little bit off. I don't actually fly the 350, but I just assume it should be more like the sim brief numbers, less like the iniBuilds numbers. I don't have any proof to say yes or no. So I'm going to find out how long that stretch of runway is, the one we discussed. I'm going to use my version of Lido. It's a little bit easier to take a look with what I have. So from intersection Tango 3 is 3808 and Delta 3 3842. So let's use Tango 3 3808 meters of distance. Let's use sim brief. We can take a look at what I'm seeing while I do sim brief. See how I can get you to join.
507 Bay Echo 24 taxi for
Good, you should be able to see sim brief up now. And we're going to do takeoff performance for Singapore Changi, runway 20 center in meters. As I've said, we have reduced length of 3808. Takeoff run available. No obstacles really. We'll use optimum flaps, the winds are correct. We'll put that in hectopascals, 1006. It is a dry runway. Takeoff weight 248263, 2483 is good enough.
Taco 10, surface wind 170 degrees 10 knots.
Which is, if you light them, yes. Let's go ahead and 2482 because we're now going to burn a little bit of fuel in the taxi. Let's go ahead and calculate that. That's the performance we've got. I need to scratch that down as a it'd like us to do a Flaps 1 departure.
We have completed the test flight and because we return to Changi at this time, cancelling the flight to
V1 is 151, VR 153, V2 160. It's bleeds on anti-airs off. Green dot is about to be 218, and they've given us a stop watch of 253. and we are flexing to 50 degrees. Very nice. I'm gonna go ahead, and this was calculated for 248. That's a gross weight. Good. So now we've got that. Let's go ahead and put those numbers into the aircraft.
Hotel 9350, fly heading 20, descend to flight level 160.
Heading 20 down to level 160 for the 9350.
Oh, sorry. Let's go back to init. We're gonna set up the fuel and load. So fuel 83.7. Let's go ahead and set that up.
3507, taxi
83.7.
Taxi whiskey Quebec,
Passengers, how many do we have? Carrying 242 passengers. Zero fuel weight 165.1. 165.1. And the fuel weight CG is 29.3. Let's go ahead and set that up. 29.3. Oops, out of range, so I must have double clicked something.
Wait for the 9350.
20.
For the 9350.
That's it, I'm not
For the 9350, before landing, we would like to commence for 2 ILS testing. First one to be for misapproach, thereafter for second one to land.
29.3. I think you should deny this request because it's really getting in everybody's way, isn't it?
Standing by.
I'm also standing by, my friend. Anyway. I guess because Singapore doesn't get a lot of traffic. Oh, he's ready. Go ahead, Singapore 328.
Singapore 328, descend to Munich. Also 3, special also 5, Bravo departure. Expect flight level 360, box 2241.
Clear to Munich, Aroso 5, Bravo departure. Flying flight, expect flight level 360. Squawk 2241, Singapore 328 heavy.
What did you expect, correct?
Yeah, Rebec's correct, that's nice. So that's
Type 1 for what?
0, but 6,200.
22.
Type 10 identify, climb 6000.
Climb 6,000 feet type.
Aye. Okay, let's try it again.
Center,
That's good.
18,
2241, perfect. 3000 and the Aroso 5 Bravo, that's been great. Let's finish this up. So all of that's done. Just want to make sure we got the taxi fuel and stuff correct. Taxi fuel, we're expecting you 600, that's correct. Route reserve is actually going to be 3.6, 3.7 good. The alternate Frankfurt, we're going to take 3.6 down to that. This is 1.4 is quite low for Frankfurt. 0.6 with the whole inspect. Final reserve fuel is 2.2, yeah. And that gives us minimum fuel at destination 5.8. That is correct. Let's go ahead with the rest of the departure performance. We have we're flexing to 50 degrees.
left heading 170.
Oh my god. My mouse double clicks quite a lot, so it's becoming a little bit difficult to see there. 50 degrees.
Roger, left heading 170 and clear
We'll use
direct,
flaps 1 for departure, THS for...
right.
I like to use that here, let's see. THS for 30.2, I think that's correct.
20 knots for the 9350.
30.
flying heading 350.
V speeds, V1. Where are you? 151.
Fly heading 350.
Just double clicking mouse is really going
Fly
to
heading
be
350.
bane of my existence in this flight. Getting a new one for Christmas. I would buy one on my own, but I've been advised not to. Because else my wife won't have anything to give me. So there we go, speeds it in, we're going to clear that. I think we're almost ready. Going to go ahead and start the APU now.
Olympic 163, roger, in that case, fly heading 160.
Just going to finish my flows. Let's go ahead and set all of this on. Okay.
Expect to go on another approach.
Oh my days. Okay. Minor losses situational awareness, but that's alright. Happens to the best of us. Just getting here while the AP starts, let's do a checklist. Where is the checklist button? It's over here somewhere.
Heavy 2025, monitor advisory, 12718.
Okay, so maybe we don't need checklist. Oh, there it is, checklist menu. There we go. Checklist menu, cockpit preparations, gear pins and covers, yes they were removed, fuel quantity, we're now burning 83.7, slightly less than we want. We wanted, oh no, it's exactly what we want, okay good. Fuel quantity is good, seatbelts on, barrel reference, both of them are
020 solid
checklist menu. What's the next one? The next one's going to be a full start, okay. So I think we're about ready.
Direct keep up.
AP is available, so we're going to start taking off bits and pieces now. So we're going to disconnect the external ground power, and we're going to get him to disconnect from us as well. So ground power can leave. Let's close that door. Turn on, click on it. Close it. You can also get rid of the air conditioning unit. And we can turn on the APU bleed for air conditioning instead. This time I'm going to tell GSX to prepare the aircraft for push and start.
7106 for the 10350.
All closed. And let's get them to arm modes. Lights are armed. Fantastic. We're happy with progress here. And we're going to get our aircraft connected now. So we are all the lights on. No lights there, just the beacon lights on. And I'll go ahead and support and we're going to go ahead.
Hello, Captain. We are ready for pushback.
Some tornadoes take last area. That's it. We're going to go ahead here and put this on auto.
And radar solid 350, require about 5 to 7 minutes to configure the ILS system for the testing. Call you back once we're ready to commence the approach.
This guy is really...
Departure checks completed. Bypass pin inserted.
We are fully ready. I'm just going to do the checklist now.
Singapore 410, visiting area.
Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start full start checklist. Parking brake is set. Takeoff speeds and thrust is going to be on my side, but we have it there. Reflection 50, 51, 53 and 60. It's set. Slides, they're all armed. Nose wheels, beacon lights on. Nose wheels turn disconnect and all is there. So the full start checklist is complete. And let's request. Singapore 328, Bravo 10, request push and start. Push approved, face north, Singapore 328 heavy. So push facing north, so that's going to be nose left.
Release parking brakes, please.
Alright, we'll start our flight now. Parking brakes released, flight base adjust. Chocks. Sorry about that, guys.
Commencing push. All
Start
engines clear. Start at will.
requesting for the ice control. Request standby.
Alright, here we go. Guys, please let me know if you can actually hear the air traffic controllers. They are obviously key to the stream without they're quite boring. You'll be able to hear it properly. Now I'll keep my mouth shut so you can be able to attend. Alright, successfully pushing, obviously. AP bleeds on. Let's go ahead and start the start sequence.
And radar solid 350, ready to commence the approach now.
Hotel 350, roger, turn left heading 290.
Left heading 290, solid 350.
Alright, no crosses, everything's good. Let's start engine number 1. Could be 2 then 1, I'm not entirely sure what the A350's specific start sequences. I believe the A320s had their procedures rewritten to start engine number 1 so that they can do single engine taxi out. I don't know how that corresponds to A350 because we're not going to do dual single engine taxi out. I don't really know how to do it, so we're going to do a proper taxi out.
And then with the Charlie,
Both the engines.
Andrew Charlie.
Gosh, this is strong out here. Anyway, I'm watching. There's no stress. I see that we've got a light
From
up.
ILS, okay, Andrew Charlie.
Andrew Charlie, roger. Get for ILS circuits, expect runway 20 center, 4,000 feet, squawk 2260.
Whoever this guy's assessor is, please let it be known he's having a particularly difficult time. I've come to Singapore a few times here on VATSIM and I've never had anybody do ILS circuits from Batam or anything insane like this, you know. I mean, I don't think it's entirely fair for him to be assessed on the situation. Maybe vectoring the other way around. If it's just the one incident, it's fine. I mean, we're not real air traffic controllers. And as long as he knows when it comes time for an event, it's alright. So that's all available. Let's go ahead and start with the 2 engine. My Vox is doing a pretty good job.
2,500 feet, solid 350, confirm the distance to the threshold.
Parking brake is set. Distance to threshold.
Expect that expect at least around 20 miles to touchdown.
20 miles, roger, solid 350, expediting.
At least 20, my friend. You have to expedite. Depending, I don't know how high up it is. Just a solitaire.
Unlocking gear.
188 copy, go ahead.
Money trip to Hong Kong, 169 Bravo departure, squawk 2205.
Alright, N3, N2, we're watching engine number 2 come alive.
Tow truck disconnected. Bypass pin removed.
Hong Kong to squawk 2205, departure via
Alright, the other engine is now
Bravo.
satisfactory, and we're going to turn off the start signals.
150 knots, 4 mile point.
Let's expedite.
150 report
Not
full and
required anymore.
160, depression 3 at Golden Stop.
Auto brake, RTO, screw brakes are armed, flaps 1, we're going to watch that.
FedEx 1 clear to Hong Kong. Firma Lano Bravo for departure 220 squawk.
I think that's now on surveillance. We'll go ahead and let
2205, FedEx warning.
flaps are in the takeoff position. And I'm going to do a flight control check.
FN 230 clear hours to join solid 350.
Alright. Take off DHS.
FedEx 1 clear ready for push and start 10505. West cargo approach.
We're going to go all the way back. Let's check the rudders now.
Face
Going left.
FedEx 1.
And the rudders are going. Very satisfied with that. Let's go ahead
Continue
and
approach
do our checklist.
right.
After start checklist. Anti-ice not required until these flight controls have been checked. Ground clearance has been received.
What is your 38 15024 solid 350?
Let's request for clearance on this taxi. It's going to give us a whole space. So let's be ready to copy that down. Singapore 328 heavy request taxi. Singapore radar, I think we need to say Singapore radar. Taxi Victor, long short Quebec, Singapore 328. Quite simple, Victor, long short Quebec. Joining the this parallel taxiway here, and hold short of Quebec. And from Quebec. So Quebec is the first of the 90-degree turns there, so we're gonna just taxi along the turn. Pretty good. Parking brake is released now. Taxi light can go on. And bon voyage.
Get left to the right.
A little bit of juice to get her rolling. Bring my tiller closer. Different conflicts, different tiller from
Charlie 19, taxi like 1. Quebec 1.
It's a little bit of encouragement to get moving. Check the takeoff config. Can we not check it now? I recall there was a problem. Oh, it's going to takeoff config normal. We're moving. left. Let's not be the guy ruining somebody else's fun. Let's just make sure everything's good. That's our plane. Next stop, Munich. This flight Singapore 328 actually operates in the dead of night. And arrives in Munich around 6 in the morning, which is ideal because you show up to the airport quite tired, and then you get a full night of sleep on your way to Munich. And there's no stress, you know. Whereas doing it at this time of day, which is, I believe, at Singapore almost 3 p.m., you're going to take off and you're going to land in Munich. So I don't know, it's like 12 hours of perpetual sunset. It's a lot easier to fly west than it is to fly east though, so you probably get used to the jet lag a little bit. The best way to deal with this, I think, is to start according to your time off. But essentially now you start have like breakfast meal or after departure, watch a TV show, maybe go back to nap. And then somewhere around the east you have lunch, and then shortly before that you have another meal for dinner. So that's usually the best way to kind of trick your mind to thinking at the right time. So it works for me. So if it was me right now, I'd be popping a melatonin or something just to help me knock myself out for the flight. But if the first ball should fly until it's in the Middle East, I think a good 5 hours of sleep should switch me on to the 4 hours should switch me on to Central European time. Alright, so we're on the next 90-degree turn is
Negative, I will go cargo area for the cargo plane. Whiskey from November.
Y'all can hear the air traffic control well.
And expect flight to Federal University.
Request to make the mid approach for this test, then after the second approach for landing for the 10950.
Okay, and turn left heading 110.
Alright, so next 90 degree.
Can I get the full instruction for the 10950 after the mid approach?
So 10950, roger, time 3000 feet, continue runway heading.
Roger, and clear for the low approach, then after 3000 feet, continue runway heading for the 10950, runway 20 right.
Okay, so it's actually back to point Tango 1, runway 20 center.
Taxi back over to Tango 1 runway 20 center, Singapore 328. So right turn and straight down until you hit the runway. Don't get onto the runway on this little. Once we turn onto Quebec, we can do our taxi checklist. Clear right on Quebec, turning right. Max wingspan 65 meters.
Double radar, Puma Beta 50, may echo 2 because English red.
I don't know how long this wings are expanded. So we're going to take a look outside. As long as we're on the center line, should guarantee our engines are okay, but our wing tip clearance remains the pilot's job. So yeah, quite happy, it looks tight, but everything's
Whiskey for 4.
That, I don't know if you noticed, but back there was crossing part before Quebec, where the ground service corps is closed. I don't know IRL if they've got like traffic signals,
Again, I would like to climb
but there's a potential for risk, especially if someone hasn't checked their blind spot as they turn onto the taxi, onto the crossing. There's a chance that they could impede the movement of an aircraft. Right, so don't do this IRL anymore. I'm just going to text me what I think.
But that actually my job is good, right?
Climb higher on that way.
Okay, over
weather advisory now, type 410, thank you for the assistance on the ATC, good luck.
Felix 18,
Pretty good service.
West Cargo, found you requesting to 2220 center.
Very good on the Olympic as well, to be ahead of his airplane, be ahead of the game, so he knows when the air
November 2, Roger
has
November,
acquired
Felix
so
8.
it's good. I was in an event yesterday to Moscow, where somebody else was getting checked out for the air control practical test. That guy did an amazing job as well. Came on track.
Again, for Solitaire 9350.
Matching 5 I'm sure this guy is.
Taxi 110, coming 4000, Solitaire
There are a
9350.
lot of airplanes here. Alright. Let's do that checklist before we forget. Taxi checklist. Flap settings configurable. We're 1 plus F. As required for performance. Radar. Not on. So we need to do is. It's on. So back to radar stuff. Radar's on, everything else is not fixed. Have your report ready. Singapore radar, Singapore 328, Tango 1 ready for departure. Line up and wait, runway 20 center, Singapore 328. Okay, line up and wait.
Roger, Charlie, request taxi.
This is a potential threat. Gotta be absolutely careful when you go forgetting this person is clear to line up. So let's get these lights on. We're waiting in those takeoff lights. We'll get the landing lights off until we can actually clearance. Let's do the landing checklists.
Taxi November,
Cabin secured and
Papa 8 and return to Quebec.
takeoff runway
Felix 1, 18.
again. 20 center. 20 center also on the map here. Backs 1 and 2.
Okay, try resuming to them.
On for departure. Checklist complete.
Airplane 020, Solitaire 9350.
Takeoff from 20 center, Singapore 328, over 3000. Okay, that was the latest already, but good that he double checks. So we are ready, ladies and gents. Let me go ahead and set the power up. 50%. Better stabilize. Takeoff, that goes on as well. Are we ready? Yes, we are. 3, 2, 1. Command flex 50 SRS. Runway ultra thrust. Alright, so we are. DP is good, good thrust. DPT is fine. 10.6 tons. Okay, we passed 100, so it's nice position. So we'll stop and fire if I want to break the vehicle. It's fine. Or any focus will go there. That's a nice to go.
V1.
360, Solid 9350, we have table 6 mile final.
And the cruise speed was 2 something, wasn't it? So, please take a look at what it was 218, so yeah, we can fly that cruise and flex. Oh, I love the sound of that tractor. Alright, there's a chance that we're now looking at 2005.
Setting money, Singapore
We're not going to use the altitude, we're going to go for the thrust. Thrust climb, I think. That's what I'm talking about. Full speed 210.
Alright, Quebec, starting point Tango 1.
I'm going to write that down. I wrote that down somewhere.
One frequency, one third, one three, one two, that's right?
So 4,000 was it?
8 for breaking flight to all the best on
Max 230 until 4,000.
Happy birthday.
Thanks. Hotel 950, descend 2,500.
Yes, it's great. Thank you,
2500
guys.
Solid 9350.
You've got to let it go. You've got to let it pass. It's great name.
Charlie, surface base 1700 degrees, take knots, and 3,000 feet.
Especially with all the weird add-on requests and everything. Yeah.
3001 heading away 207 take off message check.
Okay, 230
Hotel 950, 0 knots, first land.
I'm gonna keep the speed because now we're kind of flying away from this.
Heading 220 knots, Delta heading
Flying away
290, Solid 9350.
So I'll go ahead and set out to the right back there. Thrust to 285. The next altitude we need to worry about is 7,000 probably. And,
What is the climb level 40?
good to climb flight level 240 Singapore 328.
Connect the Phantom 3 descend 7,000 feet.
240 Brooklyn Falls 240 Center.
Flight road to you.
Don't need the nose lights, don't need the wing lights anymore. Let's make sure strobe lights are on. Logo lights are out, that's okay. You know what, just
For the 9350 for BA 951 arrival.
Alright, checklist, next one. Oh, they don't have enough takeoff checklist, okay, no worries. The gear and flat zone, that's good. Very nice, we're leaving. I think we're now over in Indonesian territory. Under the control of Singapore, I guess, for air traffic.
Charlie identified, climb 4,000 feet, then land 110.
4000 left 410, 900 Charlie.
Very nice. I'm retaining the speed at 230 knots because we're still kind of going the wrong
Hotel
direction.
950,
We want to be flying west to go towards
1 is 0 to Air final
So
for the
I'm just
950.
using, I'm not going as far forward, and I'm kind of just using it to climb. And maybe hoping a little bit that we get a direct link to like,
Hotel 950, turn left heading 230, get ILS
but I'm not going to ask you as well.
Definitely 230 clear altitude right, Solid 9350.
Let's check the airport. Singapore.
950, surface base 1700 degrees, take knots, and 6,000 feet, landing 209.
Airport, one of the busiest
From
ports in the world.
3000, please from 207,
Why we have all
take off,
the,
195.
ship traffic, and I got that with global AI ship traffic at fast.
And Charlie, turn left
They've
heading
also doing a good job. Very light on high performance and stuff, and had leasing doing it all to them. So yeah, highly recommend. Big thanks to them.
Unfortunately, direct Akuma.
Direct Tacoma, Singapore 328. That's what we were talking about, direct Tacoma.
Select 20,
Let's go ahead and set that up.
207, run up and wait. Select 20.
Solid 9350 established, runway 209.
Hotel 950, surface base 1700 degrees, take knots,
Passing 10,000.
Solid 9350.
Southern territory for the current 3000 feet. Flex line 8.
Might be close to that FedEx rolling. I don't know how good my stream is or how good the so there we go. Singapore down there is the famous Marina Bay area. If you watch Formula One, that's also where the Marina Bay circuit is. Quite an interesting night street race. Watching FedEx depart very easy. Well, I guess we're a little bit too high in my level of detail speaked out to say, you know what, you don't need to see that. So I guess we don't need to see that. That looks very good. Crossing over into Malaysia. Our flight no longer takes us over to Singapore. I fire it. We're going to go into Malaysia, if I'm not mistaken. Malaysia is actually control. Something I like about the Airbus, you know, technically still flying, but I haven't touched it.
Select money identify, expected stop.
Okay, it's transition altimeter set standard.
Current 6000 feet, FedEx 18.
Standard.
Radio Charlie, send that is 020.
Standard.
From left 020.
All across the board, we've got standard set.
And your Charlie 8
There's not a lot of turns left, so all the excitement for the flight. So the autopilot, make sure the pilot wants to make the flight. Just vehicle to
Be advised, before we now is on your 5 minutes.
Okay. If his mentor is up and active, let him be know that he can do a great job. Like Jason. GG, my friend. So the mentor has definitely gone offline, so I'm going to assume that he has passed. Because why else would the mentor go offline? Great job, David. We're all very proud of you.
Oh, so then 350, maintain 58, turn left.
Okay, left for T, sorry, then 350.
So, although there was something up on the screen now where I was stuck the whole time. Oh, shame, but at least you could hear me talk, you know. There's this guy here, he's gonna pass. We are he is China Eastern 543. Oh no.
Then 2500
Yeah, China Eastern 543 is a heavy. That's actually
Calling 320.
very good to kind of see who's where. And you can see he's doing 1800 per minute, so that kind of helps.
November 951,
Helps us know like we were on the descent behind him, like what level, what rate we need to maintain, so we can be above his weight. Quite interesting for us to know. Quite a lot of clouds here. I assume that was for Singapore 328. You did a great job, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Singapore 9 and 2 is 139, 122, that's 8. Singapore 950, monitor by 122, that's 8.
So it turns out there was a 9028 as well. Alright, well. Situational awareness lacking also on my part today. But I'm not actually on YouTube, so this is quite fun. Alright folks, so we are now gonna set up emergencies. Yay. So honestly let's keep our eye on the cruise. At this point we have a little bit of time to talk shit. Maybe it's something you want to ask, something you want to talk about. So we've just departed here on the iniBuilds A350 900. For the most part, I think we've managed to depart safely. Nothing's come up. I don't think I've done everything correctly. So if you are, of course, more familiar with the Airbus 350, you come up on the chat on YouTube or on Twitch. Let me know what I'm doing wrong. And maybe it's something we can fix. You know, maybe something I could we're coming up to this thunderstorm slash cloud something. Let's go ahead and get the seatbelts back on. Speed window, we can pull that. And let's set 300 knots so we can try climbing right through it. So these kind of charge clouds should have a different sort of weather return. On flights it did show up as green. So I'm going to assess that as no signal, like no problem. So we're going to go through the green. Belts are on just because it's pretty bumpy. You can see there's a little bit of the rain effect here. Temperature outside is -2, but because of the speed that we're flying at, we have something called ram rise, which is the friction of your skin as you run through the air, and that causes the temperature to actually sort of feel warmer. So that's an 18, so we're not expecting the formation of any ice across our airframe. Actually, not bad. A lot more meat than I thought it would be. That's something we're lacking on flights that really have a good weather radar. We had something flights in the 1960s. We had active sky, both the B3 and I think also for 86, if I'm not mistaken. Fantastic add-on, especially with the EMEG airplanes, the way that they interacted and showed us what the weather would look like, or does look like, was stellar, really stellar. It's unfortunate we don't have that again here at Flight Simulator 2024. It would benefit from having a decent weather radar, and like, especially if there's lightning around, with threat analysis to let us know what kind of threats are available. What would be even cooler is if you had a weather radar model for the aircraft type, so maybe if you were flying the MD something, the weather radar would be maybe not as good as what's on the 350, or maybe not as powerful, or the interaction slightly different. There's many ways to play around with it, and I think that would be really something interesting to look at. I would look at it if I had any technical progress, but no, I didn't. I think we're coming out the field of thunderstorms, we're getting to the higher altitudes, so something about lightning and the potential for lightning strikes, those tend to happen closest to the 0-degree isotherm. We were quite close there. -6 outside, and I think when we saw lightning was probably around -4. So close to 0-degree isotherm in terms of the altitude, and that's where lightning tends to fall. So what we had seen, it could be fairly accurate. And of course it goes up and down 3,000 feet. We probably haven't hit it because that would feel a jolt. Nothing here on the instruments, and nothing reported from the cabin, so no strange smells, nothing. So we're going to continue the flight without being concerned about lightning strike damage. Or we could be concerned about it. I'm scratching down here, okay, plus possible lightning strike if I do suspect it, but I don't really. So what I would do is get to Munich before we swap the flight crew. I myself will conduct a walk around with the aircraft to see if I can spot lightning strike damage. If there is, we would then advise your company. If you are almost sure you have had lightning strike damage, let them know. And they would probably ask you to turn back to Singapore to get a fresh new airplane, fresh new crew, and head on out to Munich. Alternatively, they're not entirely sure, they might send you off, and they might delay the flight departing from Munich just so an appropriate assessment can be carried out in Munich without passengers having to wait at the gate and watch technicians form the airplane, so it doesn't look that nice. So I think we're out in the field, and we're going to go ahead, see both signs off, and we'll go back to our econ speed close to. Okay, so in this part of the world, let's take a look at some airports that we can go to. Let's zoom in here. I mean, off the top of my head, I know there's a few airports that I like. Kuala Lumpur, Penang, potentially. I don't know how that's going to deal with. I mean, they do have 777 operations in Penang, so I think the 350 would not be a problem. Phuket, which is going to be one of I've never seen it. I wouldn't know. It's tough to see light during the day, obviously. But let's prep for some additional things. I'm gonna go down here. There is no weather available. Let's see if I can't request the ATC. Wait, technically, I want to talk to my company. How do I do that? Surveillance is going to be page. Oh, maybe we can request it via the OIS. Flight tops menu POC. Preliminary load sheet. Okay, we're going to clear all that. We've seen it already. Talk. Okay, note to self, I don't know how to do that. So, let me try again. Flight tops menu. Maybe on flight tops menu. Insurance AOC. Thank you for all understood. Okay, I can't make heads and tails of it. I don't know. I really don't. So we are gonna find a way to get rid of the mailboxes here. How do we get the mailboxes? When it was first released, I spent a lot of time on the iniBuilds A350, and I want to say I think I got pretty good with it. But over time, I sort of tried different aircraft, different stuff, and sort of lost my touch with it. So let's go ahead and see if I can't set the arrival latest. So let's set the arrival latest for WMKK here, which is called on board, and set that off and see if something comes up. I don't think it will because there's no ATC. Is there somebody on the board? Or is it just the weather? Just the weather. That's good enough. It's fair by 4 knots, 9 and 9. Clouds at 2,700 CVs to 3.005. The good thing about having the iniBuilds 350 is we can do all the planning right here, so I can show you exactly what I'm doing. There's no need to go between different windows. So yeah, here we go. We have the A350's OIS here, and that's basically what's gonna help us. You could take a look and you'll see that I've just deselected all everything that I've just tagged earlier, and now we're looking for Kuala Lumpur WMKK. Let's search this airfield. Let's look at the aerodrome facility chart. That's the first thing we want to look at. 3 runways, 4,000, 4,000, 3,900. Okay. 3 runways available, all about roughly about 4,000 feet. It's on a northwest southeast configuration along the coastline, mountains on the side. Speed all star. Anyway, not maintaining potential. This is not ideal to we're going to go all the way up to flight level 360. 360 set thrust line multiples. Set the final. Yeah, we're just slightly above optimal, but that's okay because on these routes across the Bay of Bengal, the earlier you get south, but let's move over. We're going forward. How are we going to do that? We're going to go to secondary index here, secondary flight plan 1. And we're going to set that up. The secondary index 1. This is something I do enjoy about the iniBuilds 350, the fact that you can actually have your entire plan set up, ready to go, and just execute when it's time. So Singapore to Kuala Lumpur, and the flight number remains the same, SC9A328. Checked out the base cycle, yep, we had a chat about that. We don't need to worry about the cruise, we don't need to worry about any of that. Just gonna go flight plan, secondary flight plan. Secondary index, secondary 1. Is there a way to put the secondary flight plan? No, it's got the same second 1 flight plan. We are only concerned about the arrival. We're going to land ILS 1 for left in Kuala Lumpur with ILS 1 for via. There's quite a lot of buyers available. Let's see. IAC 1 for left. I think via roll up, yeah, like a nice downward there, so we have base like there. Doesn't really help people miss. How does that go? I'm not actually sure additionals via reasons that is south and then we go north. So we're gonna expect to be, yeah, by inquiries for our present position. If we go north of Dubai, let's go ahead and set inquiry to start with. Yeah, that's the plan. We'll go fly direct to inquiry and that would work out. Very nice. So she's ready for Kuala Lumpur. Let's go to secondary 2. Sorry, second 2. And we are going to go to second 1. Except now we're going to change the flight plans to 1 for left. All that's fine except for the 5 and 2. So sec 1, sec 2 all set up and ready for integrations. And we could also look at the third airport that we wanted to discuss. So it's going to be I think our route is going to be Kilo Papa, which is, let's see if we can get an ID. Whiskey Mike, Kilo Papa, which is Munich. We can go in after the weather. going to land straight in via Coney. Yeah. Via fantastic. So yeah, that's part of the plan. So all the initial plans are complete. Now folks, we get back to just looking outside the airplane, which is climbing in 400 feet, which is not great. We're gonna go full climb first. If this is how the real 350 performs, I am in awe, because we've been flying now for 30 minutes and we're still not, even in RVSM, so disappointed. I'm sure it's great for fuel burn, and I will do this if we're flying over the ocean, but now we're flying over Southeast Asia, quite busy, so we're not going to go ahead and do the whole really slow climb thing. It's not worth that time, in fact. Good, we're in RVSM level now, 290 there, and 292-ish. That's because I was a bit slow in counting it. Estimated to land at Munich in 1918. We believe the event is on until 2030, so we're coming in the middle of the event. It's quite good there, 7.1 tons of fuel. It's got 5,500 miles to go. So this flight's going to go on for another 12 hours-ish. Good, so we've got the initial altimeter plan. In fact, we're now just crossing Kuala Lumpur, which was, if you recall, seconds early, we were planning arriving here. And there is Kuala Lumpur Sepang, that's there, 2 runners. And we have planned to land on left, I believe that way. That could be the Formula 1 tracks, I don't know. And then we should be able to see here the city of Kuala Lumpur. Over there is another sort of internal city airport. I don't know how flights there anymore. Looks like there's a general aviation field there as well. And showing us towers should be somewhere here. If I'm not mistaken. I'm not very geographically inclined, especially with Kuala Lumpur. There is the Decca Tower, so I think the tower should be somewhere here. Yeah, that's my guess. And I'm just now noticing that there is a problem with the stickers ahead of me. See, it says there Airbus A350 900. Confused. It seems to be a livery issue. I think it needed to be updated. But I had seen that before. I just didn't really pay attention. So yeah, now we know that. Well, nothing we can do about it. We're airborne. I'm not gonna go stop the flight for that. We can laugh about it later. Let's see if I can actually see it up. No, I can't. So problem solved. Flying past Kuala Lumpur doing 1,200. This is a healthier rate of time for VSM, 1,200. Yeah, good. We can now talk about oceanic contingencies. Actually, we get to cruise, and we can do a cruise brief, and also we can discuss plan of action. We can discuss ETOPS. We can discuss oceanic contingency, which includes, of course, emergencies and what to do in case you need to do weather deviations. Just gotta hold on another 4,000 feet to get into that conversation at the moment. And while we do that after review. Our plan for today in terms of tops. Quite a bit of weather. It's normal in Southeast Asia. I don't think a real weather radar would be ATVs. I think these are just gray clouds now. Maybe you have a few green dots, but they're not a risk factor. I'm just realizing iniBuilds did tell us that liveries would need to be updated, and that's what I haven't done. I'm using older livery from by Verizon, which is probably has not been updated. I don't know. I certainly haven't updated, so that's probably what's happening here. Okay, no problem. No harm done. Need weather from a couple of airports now. We're gonna set up to do shortly ETOPS for our flights. According to our OFB, operation flight plan, we should reach top of climb in 29 minutes. We're 35 minutes into flight, nowhere to be seen. The top of climb. We'll be maintaining flight level 360 until Uras. Find out where Uras is. I believe that's closer to India. Yep, it's on the coast of on the east coast of India. So we'll be climbing to 380 there. We'll be climbing to flight level 400 in the United Arab Emirates, and we'll maintain 400 until we arrive. Yeah. So what's the next level above 400 that we can use for RVSM? A lot of people will think it's 420, but no, 420 is not an RVSM level. RVSM is at 410, which is an odd level. The next level will be 2000, so it will be 430, and that's actually going to be a westbound level. And the level after that, that's going to be eastbound, will be 450, 2000 above 430. Why is it designed that way? Is RVSM requires a certain amount of precision from our altimeters, and the idea is once you go beyond flight level 410, for that matter, 450 if your aircraft is capable of standard available altimeters, especially commercial airliners, may not be good enough to be able to maintain a 1,000-foot separation. There might be variances, and if the variances might be more than the allowable 200 feet, it might be 400, 500 feet, so it brings the airplanes quite a lot closer. So imagine your altimeter is now telling you you're 500 feet higher than you actually are, and somebody altimeter tells them that you're 500 feet lower than they actually are, so you both actually have the same level, but you think you're about 1,000 feet beyond each other, and then big problem. So that's basically why RVSM is achieved 410. I'm sure as aircraft get more powerful, things get better, we'll be able to reach higher flight levels. And just a matter of family schools. At the moment, I know the A380 can cruise quite high up. I believe the 350 can also, maybe the 777, but I don't know. I think the 320 is then the 390 and the 737 to 410 that I know of says that I can believe the A377 can climb higher. I'm not sure though. But they'd be outside RVSM. So RVSM between 290 and 410. Coming up to the last 500-foot climb. And we're doing 600 feet per minute with what happens if I derate the thrust. Look at that. It takes away almost 3% of thrust. Oh my god, she's still going. She's really derating the thrust. And barely able to do 500. In fact, it's going to start sub-reducing now, just because of it. But I just wanted to see for myself, so it's quite a loss. And she's gone back to thrust climb anyway. Mach, alt cruise, they were cruising now at flight when I'll jump into the paperwork, I'll start filling out the OFB, so we can track our nav as we go along the long distances, just to catch any leaks. And we'll also be tracking the progress of the flight, so we'll be looking at weather, METARs, that kind of stuff. In fact, I don't think we're going to get anything in the YouTube that ATC put in. A few airports that we are now considering. Let's do fix info for them. Live plan info, fix info, fix whiskey Mike, that's the one of more fix to Echo to whiskey Mike, let's go back. Let's try that again. Live plan info, fix info. The next step what I like is Kent Victor Tango Sierra Papa. And then finally Victor Oscar Mike Changi. These are, you see quite a big distance between Sierra Papa and Victor Oscar Mike. That's, well, because of the top supply. So let's go ahead and put a radius around so right now we're doing 500 knots, so we can come back to the same 400 miles here. Let's go ahead and set about 400. Let's do 250 miles. It's in 30 minutes with radius, so 50 miles. 50 miles around Penang. Fix 3. These guys are going to be longer, of course, but let's go ahead and do 500 for these guys, because they are about an hour. It's roughly about an hour, and we want that for our ETOPS calculation. Good. How does that work? Okay, to find a way to sort of reduce the yeah, not enough. Let's get that nice and low. Good. There is some weather. I'm not totally interested in it. Range rings available. I believe this is. We're getting up to Penang already, so I think we just jump on over to Penang. If things go wrong, I'll track the AUR with the public off. So I know how close we are. There you go, 19 miles from Penang, and I think that's where we're going to go if things go bad coming up next weekend. Alright, so nerd time. So we are going to talk about cruise motion flight. Threads along our flight, it's very long, so it's 12 hours. We're not going to be here for 12 hours, I think that makes sense. But we're going to talk about ETOPS and other matters. So the first sector of the flight, the primary threat can be weather. For now it seems that most of the weather is below, and it was a belt of weather that we're expecting to pass close to the, over the vehicle. Another threat IRL, probably not the same, is a lack of communications over the water. There's extended stretches of water, so we're not going to be able to receive communications over the VHF. So we're going to have to do that using VHF. Primary difficulty with HF is not clear. You might not be able to get recleared enough. You might not be able to get the clearances we require. So that's where we have an oceanic contingency procedure, and we'll discuss that. And of course, ETOPS. ETOPS, background for you, what exactly ETOPS is. It's, I believe it was designed in the early 90s, so maybe the late 80s, maybe the early 80s. It's been a while. It's still considered important. Before this, if you wanted to fly more than 60 minutes away from an airport, from a suitable airport, you were not allowed to. Say you had a 737 and you wanted to cross the Atlantic, you'd have to essentially draw little range rings of 60, that's within 60 minutes, an hour of flight time in still air conditions from the nearest airports. Yeah, so anything outside that would be your ETOPS area of operation. And that's still the case. It's still an ETOPS area of operation. Before the ETOPS regulations, however, you could not leave those 60-mile rings. You had to be within those 60 minute rings. ETOPS essentially came out and gave relief. So if you wanted to fly outside the 60-minute ring, you'd have to have 4 engines or 3 engines, but more than 2. ETOPS is basically like a maintenance program, regulatory program. So when you have an aircraft that is ETOPS compliant, it has more stringent maintenance procedures, more stringent checks. So they want to make sure everything's great. So you check your engines, you check your airframe itself, you check survivability stuff, so oxygen, you check fire capability, because there's different reasons you might want to divert to get there within 60 minutes of an aircraft fire. Tough still. What if you're 120 minutes away from the end? How do you do that? So our ETOPS fire system is essentially multiple bottles. So you get the first bottle of fire extinguisher that goes and puts the fire down, and then you have a second bottle that goes, so it keeps the fire down. Hopefully the first one has done a really good job of fighting the fire, so there's no flames, but the second one is just constantly spraying the retardant on so that the fire stays down and tries to kill any hot spots and stuff. Because you can't really get down to the cargo to fight the fire again. So that just gives you an idea on what things are like when it comes to ETOPS. So how do we plan for an ETOPS flight? So first we take a look at all the airports in and around. They tend to be around coastal areas, but there are also parts around, I believe, Siberia and Mongolia where ETOPS is also part of the Amazon. For the 350, for example, it could be ETOPS over the Amazon because there might be airports that the 737 can land at, but they're not capable for a 350, so they're not a suitable airport. So what you do is, as a planner, you look at all the airports in and around the area, and then you would take a look and decide, okay, so today what's the plan like? Am I stopping off? Okay, I don't know. I think I keep getting stuck anyway. So what you do is you would take a look for our flight today from Singapore to Munich, and we'd identify the ETOPS area of operations. So that for us today is going to be over the Arabian Sea. And you look at all the airports that can handle 350. So things like Phuket, maybe Port Blair, Bangkok, Chennai, Kolkata, Chittagong. These are around the coastal rim of the Bay of Bengal. So we're going to look at those airports. Once you look at those airports, you are going to look at navigation facilities. So what's the best type of approach that airport has? So you got an ILS, fantastic. What category of ILS? So you go and you find how the airports are physically capable. You also look at things like the capability of firefighting, all that sort of stuff. So once that's done, you have an idea of which airports you can go to. And then you take it one step further back, and then you go, okay, so I can go to these airports, but you're gonna have to now look at it on the day. So how's the weather on the day when you're expected to have a divert to the airport? And then there's, I think, an hour or 2 hours back and forth. So you could end up 2 hours early, 2 hours back, and you should have absolutely good weather. And there should be no possibility of something going on, and you should be able to land. It's essentially what you're looking at. So say if the airport's got Cat 1 ILS, if you want to use an airport on that day, the weather and the forecast of the weather should be above the minimums for a VOR DME. If it's only got a VOR DME approach, your weather minimums need to be better than that of an NTB approach, so on and so forth. So it's essentially trying to guarantee that you will be able to fly to that airport. Yeah, that's the big idea of the that's essentially the plan with ETOPS. Furthermore, once we get into ETOPS, we have different levels of ETOPS. So ETOPS 120, ETOPS 180, that just basically shows how big your rig can be. As far as you're beyond 60 minutes, beyond the 60-minute break, you are in ETOPS in your maintenance program, and then your approvals determine actually how big an additional rig can be. So you can only go 120 minutes away, 180 minutes away. So a lot of the airplanes these days come from Boeing or Airbus already ETOPS compliant and capable, and then it's just your operator who needs to train you and give you procedures to then fly the aircraft. In our case today, if we are on an Airbus A350, as you know, this flight has been planned with ETOPS 120, so we can go up to 2 hours away from the suitable airport. And the suitable airports we've chosen today are Phuket, Victor Tango Sierra Papa, and Chennai, Victor Oscar Mike Mike. And then there's the weather suitability, so the weather, they've forecasted the weather. Well, they've given you a pretty good weather forecast, so they've given you the weather minimums that should be 600 foot overcast and 3,200 meters of visibility. And so essentially it's telling us once you get beyond 438 miles from Phuket, you are now in ETOPS. And once you're within 534 miles from Phuket and 580 miles from Muscat, that's where the waypoints intersect, is your equitime point. And that equitime point is where you make the choice whether you carry on to Muscat or you come back to Chennai. In all cases, it's told us the most critical condition will be a decompression. So ETOPS scenario looks into three problems. It takes a look at an engine failure, it takes a look at decompression, and then it takes a look at what happens if you get both. For the most part, a decompression tends to be the most ETOPS fuel critical scenario. Reason being, if you have a decompression, you have both engines running, you're going to decelerate, get down to 10,000, and remain at 10,000 for air for 120 minutes. So that tends to burn the most fuel. If you have an engine failure, you only do that with one engine, it might take you more time, but you save fuel for the single engine, even though it's burning harder. Yeah, that's the fun bit. So yeah, so the critical scenario here on the simulation is also discussed. That the worst case is going to be decompression. If you're now doing ETOPS over land somewhere with mountains, the decompression scenario might not be the worst. It might be an engine failure plus decompression. But for now, it's done the math. It's always decompression. You're going to be usually at the exit, so it tells you how much additional fuel you have. Today, where you're carrying a lot of fuel to go to Munich, if you were coming back from Munich where you're low on fuel, there's a potential that if you have this problem, you might not be able to get to your suitable airport. So imagine now you're about 3 hours from Singapore, you've just flown for 9 hours, you have a decompression, you've gone down to 10,000 feet, heavy Airbus A350, and you're now going to fly 120 miles towards Phuket, 120 minutes towards Phuket, and at 10,000 feet you don't have fuel to do anything. That's what it's going to tell you. And if it tells you it doesn't have fuel, what you need to do is add additional fuels to be able to comply with the scenario. So that's all done today because it's the ETOPS area is the start of the flight. We don't have any critical fuel problems. The critical fuel point for us today is actually our ETP. And if we land there, it says here our critical fuel is 11 tons. So it takes 11 tons of fuel to comply with either scenario. So it's okay. Also takes into account icing conditions. So the weight from icing conditions as we fly through 10,000 feet icing conditions. Shows you your MORA, your distillation, everything looks to be suitable. Now we are just going to go take a quick look at what the weather was forecast to be in both Muscat and both Chennai and Phuket. These are significant weather risks in the airports. There's Chennai FIR. There's a volcanic eruption in Barren Island, it says. Moving southwest at 15 knots. So it's kind of away from where we're going east. There's a cloud that flies in the lanes here, so not a huge cloud. Frankfurt. So Phuket, the forecast is expected to be 0705 knots, 999 scatter 2000. I know there's no ILS there, and even the RFU group says well more. So Phuket's not going to be a problem unless something happens at the airport that now prevents us from flying tops. So say for example someone has disabled the aircraft on that's up to our operations to check at all times that any flight that's being on tops is constantly got for watch. So they're gonna check for us and find out, hey, all the airports that we have defined for this gentleman and for this flight is still okay. They're gonna do this consistently. If for any reason while we're in the area where Phuket is altered, if it goes bad for Phuket, they'll send us a message and say, hey guys, Phuket is no longer available. Your new alternate is this, it's fuel required this at the time, and they send it to you off by ACARS. Or it needs to be communicated to you. Hopefully ACARS is working on that day, otherwise it's a whole mess with having to contact you over HF. Or SACO, thank God SACO will be better. Chennai forecast is worst case scenario is going to be 07010, gusting 25 to 6,000 meters. And literally the worst I see today is actually tomorrow, 2,000. So maybe a little bit windy, but nothing we're going to have. 07010, gusting 25, that's fine. And wind really takes it. Wind does not really take into account the tops unless you got like a narrow runway, or it might be crosswind limits, so this needs to be done. It's another crosswind, so friends are going to get wind for Chennai. So other good stuff. So both the airports are good. And we're going to go ahead and feed the top scenario to this aircraft. Let's also do the Cat VOR for reference. On this side, that's probably as we get closer to Phuket. Well, let's see. There you go. Cat tuned. And we'll detune it once we get past. We're not using VATSIM today, Whiskey India Tango. I just not very familiar with it, and I kind of forgot while I created the scenario that VATSIM didn't exist, so that's my bad. It was VATSIM, sorry, Bandar Aceh, I think, Bandar... Excuse me, what I told shit. There is actually a tropical cyclone there as well, so I don't know. I'm pretty glad I didn't take it. It's Bandar Aceh, Sultan Iskandar Muda. And there is a tropical cyclone around that area, just off the north of Indonesia, somewhere around there, which is what's causing all the additional clouds. Good. So how do I now go ahead setting up good time points? Let's go ahead and set up good time points. Yeah. Reference 1 is going to be Victor. And reference 2 is going to be Victor Oscar 9. I need to give it to cruise flight level, so actually don't know how that's, do we use that up present position? Also between them you can see 652 miles. We will be at 31 miles past beacon. See if that corresponds to what I have here on the OFP. It's quite a big OFP to scroll through. So according to this, ETP is going to be 18 minus, yep, that's it, minus how many miles? Radial distance, 62 miles actually, so it's a small difference here. I guess it's got to do with the winds. Oh, it does give you a wind correction. It's minus 16. That's minus 16. No, it doesn't give you a wind correction. Okay, so we'll calculate on still air conditions, right? So you just see 902, 901. Go back, beacon 31, 913, you just see 15, 20. Just flash it up. That we're going to be still at 360. Oh, that's the wind heading to find out. Okay, fine. You know what? I'll give it the wind speed jumps entry points. flight plan info, fix info, and we're working now with the range ring from Phuket. We're gonna put 2 radiuses, so we'll also change this to minutes. Victor, Tango, Sierra, Papa, Cat. That's 2. Also Victor, Tango, Sierra, Papa. It's 1. So we are tops entry at 438 miles. So we're gonna put that full through 30 tops entry. Fixed to from Victor Tango Sierra Papa 534. That's gonna be our eco time point. Next fix is gonna be Victor Oscar Mike Mike. And it corresponds to 580 here. So we're in the 534 from Phuket, 580 from Chennai is our eco time point. So we got another fix for Chennai here again. And 437 is now within 16 miles of 16 minutes of Chennai. Keep saying miles, I need to stop. And let's take a look at how that looks. Yeah, you see that it's very close to actually TP. I'm actually supposed to go down the waypoint. So it means I can Bangkok. Can I center it around Bangkok? No. Okay, fine. Anyway, so you see the first ring is the 60 miles away from Phuket ring. We're not at the tops yet. Once you're 60 minutes from the tops, 60 minutes from Phuket ring. Once we pass the 60 minutes from Phuket, we're in tops all the way until we get to within 60 minutes of Chennai, which is there. So that segment between the 2 inner circles is tops, and where these 2 big circles meet is our ETP, and it's quite close to what was calculated by the aircraft. The difference, of course, is the wings. Don't know what they've calculated with, so it's slightly different. But you get the plan. That's the new tops that's ready for us now. Another change I can do is we can get the plan set up. We can have it ready to execute. We'll go back to ATC com here and let's request multi-width from Victor Tango Sierra Papa. They come by pretty quickly, so that's not a problem. Let's take a look outside once in a while because we have a couple of cycle areas. I'll take my weather radar off. There's no windies. Yeah, it's quite challenging. Let's get this back up so we can see before we fly into the ship. So that's where the tropical cycle is. We'll end up flying through the yellows once much the reds. Yeah, we're still waiting for the arrival agents from Phuket. I don't remember if I've sent it, but it's sending now. While we do that, we can talk about something else that we do here in the ocean. It's called the strategic lateral offset procedure. Kuala Lumpur, we're allowed to do that only in non-radar oceanic airspace with the following airways. So it's Papa 628, Papa 574, and we're on the limit with 571. So we can do that between Bam and Inigo. So between Bam and Inigo, we're allowed to do slops. Slops essentially keep airplanes off the center line by 1 or 2 miles, or anywhere within between 0 to 2 miles. Yeah. So you can do it in tens, you can do it in whole numbers. The 727s we can do it in tens, so we can pick a number like 1.6, 1.7. Random, every day is a random number, but all tens is right. So all the aircraft flying, in our case westbound, go off to the right. All the aircraft flying eastbound also go off to the right. So what that does essentially is that it creates a little, also a little bit of lateral separation between the 2 types of traffic. In cases of emergencies, in case someone needs to go down, there's a little bit of lateral between those who head on. It's essentially the idea. It also gets you to keep It allows you to choose if you want to go left or right to stay away from wings. And if the wind coming off the right and you're at 380, you might consider staying all the way to the right so that your wing blows off, and people behind you will consider staying off to the left so that they don't run into the wing. If it's straight headwind, maybe the 380 guy stays in the center and you guys go right, different lanes, 1, 2, 1, 2, so on. There's different ways. I mean, you can coordinate it if you like. I've not heard of a single person who's actually done so, but there remains the potential to coordinate. We're gonna go ahead and fly an A325 after that. So we're gonna go ahead and do that now. 330 full map. Heading. That's what we're going to execute. We'll execute it direct to. We'll execute it if we're going direct to. Cat. That's what we're execute. What if? Oh. That's interesting. I didn't know you could do that with the second ring. Nice. Second ring 2. We'll set up a little bit later as we get closer to what is not weakness and plus landing. Let's try left turn. I guess fly heading 50 and we'll reset the airway. So this is what I don't really like about cyclonic weather because you get a lot of high clouds with ice crystals. Now you have to watch your engines a little bit extra carefully so you don't get into ice crystallizing, which is essentially very fine ice that kind of goes into your engine and starts vibration. This also makes it difficult to remember there was a volcano that was probably just the same thing at from Chennai FIO, and why that's important is now that you have these clouds, you can't really tell if there's volcanic ash also in it, unless you start having the effects of volcanic ash. You win some, you lose some. So today's day is going to be clearly a little bit busy. Also, as you ride through this, it's constant cloud. So it's not bad enough for you to want to turn on the seatbelts, but if it goes on for 2 hours, it just gets really, really annoying. 255 still. Very good. So then offset from present position until we are close to the oceanic, sorry, to the continental part of our flight medium, which I think would be Dasso. Yeah. See. From here until the Dasso. Intercept angle, we're going to offset to the right by 1. Oh, we can only do that. Temporary climb now. Insert. Oh, have I done something wrong? Let's say offset right is, yeah, to the right of November 57. Okay, so we've just bust through a little bit, but the airplane will catch it. The next thing I want to talk about is what ifs. What if we have problems over the ocean? The biggest problem over the ocean is a lack of communication. So we have a document here. Let me tell you exactly what that document is. It's general procedures for reactivating with regards to oceanic special procedures for in-flight contingencies in oceanic airspace, not related to weather. So that's what it looks like. Let's see what information I was still moving around to there. Yeah, so that's what it looks like. And I'm just going to tell you what that is. So basically it tells you you're on your cleared route. If you have any sort of problems, you're going to go a step off to the right, which is why we're already maintaining 1 step to the right. So you make a right turn with at least 30 degrees. And you fly 5 nautical miles from the cleared route. So bear in mind we're already 1 mile out, so it's 4 miles then further. And then we'll descend to flight level 292. So the exact step is tap ATC clearance, maintain flight level enable, minimize climb risk, and with an engine failure we're not going to be able to maintain 360. So on both the engines we're just going to go ahead and put max continuous thrust. And we're going to go ahead to clean speed, select low altitude and full speed, so when it's ready, the auto throttle is connected. It's going to bleed speed slowly. Once it reaches the speed that I've selected, it's going to be clean speed. It's going to then keep the clean speed and start a gentle descent. In the meantime, my colleague and I will try to identify what the problem is, try to fix it if we can, and if we can't, we'll shut down the engine. And as we're now leaving the flight table, we'll start a right turn of at least 30 degrees for 4 miles, so it's a total of 5 miles from the original clear track. And then we'll essentially parallel the airway 5 miles off to the right, so we'll do exactly what we did now. And then we'll see how we're able to fix the problem. If not, we would then close the thrust levers and then we would essentially dive or go down as quickly as we can below flight level 290. Once we're below 290, we'll maintain a 500 foot vertical offset when able. We're made it, so we'll pick a level and try to go 500 up or down, so we're like in between the RVs and guys. And then we'll carry on the airway and try to get clearance, or because we're going to be in the top scenario, we'll just make a right or left turn as appropriate below the RVS and fly direct to look at the OR. And the way we look at it is to see where the other airways are, where the other potential traffic guides might be. On our airway today, those guys are going to move to the south of us, so we're going to try to make a turn to the north as tight as we can, and then fly direct to the Phuket airport. And the whole while we're going to be declaring maybe smoke 700. We're going to get in touch with other air traffic that's in the area and try to get their help with the situation. And yeah, essentially that's the idea. Good, and then we do the same thing for depressurization. Mass on, boom, shut the power. While going down to 10,000, we make that right turn. And then we still parallel the area until we get a plan of where we want to go again with 5 miles. The procedure changes a little bit if we're now deviating off the airway for weather. For your own reference, all airways are 10 miles wide again, so you get 5 on both sides, or 10 on both sides. I think it's 5 on both sides, which is why you go more than 5 miles outside of the airway. If you cannot get an ATC clearance within those 5 miles, there allowed to divert, deviate from where there's fly miles. If you need to go beyond those fly miles and you're unable to get ATC clearance, what you do is if you are flying westbound, in our case, and if you're deviating to the right, you would descend 300 feet. If you're deviating to the left, beyond 5 miles, you would climb 300 feet. So now we're like, so everybody else deviating is now in different levels, so it's the best way of trying to stay clear of each other if we don't know where they are. And nowadays we have modern helps that we've seen also on departure from Changi. You can see where the guys were, who he was, and maybe contact with God and sort of communicate their intentions and kind of make it work. But yeah, that's what we do. I mean, we don't have any failures turned on today, so we don't know what's going to happen. Offsets right 1 mile, that's good. But now that I've said that we don't have failures on, is there something we can do? I know they've got situations. Once enabled situation cannot be used, so we do have situations available. Or failures. You can fail a bunch of stuff so you can see the impact it might have on the aircraft as we go along. So you're coming, if there's somebody up here on chat and you're interested in actually seeing a failure or something along those lines, let me know. I would be absolutely thrilled to show you. I think it'd be interesting for me to try it as well. And I think, folks, that's it. We discussed meetups, we discussed the contingency procedure. We're still quite far from actually entering meetups. It's been easy there for meetups. When we start meetups, when we end meetups, and that is it's slightly different from what the airplane thinks, but that's because it doesn't know the actual winds that we're going to experience as a team on both sides. So maybe the sim brief is a little bit better, but you can use that to your advantage. You can say the airplane said it, so maybe you can come back to Phuket. And they're skewed a little bit on one side because to come back to Phuket, we're going to have to deal with the headwind. But to go to Chennai, we'll have a tailwind to help us along. So that's why they're slightly skewed, not exactly the same distance. Good, folks. Thanks very much for joining me as we depart Singapore. I don't think there's much else interesting going on in the flight. RNAV 10 airway here. As we go over India, it becomes still is RNAV 10. The breadth of India, we go across where you can see no more tops. Through the Persian Gulf, Arabian Gulf, there's no terrain. It's all good, plenty of airports. Through Iran, depending on the airline, you may have different risk categories for success. But then the fun starts once again once we get to Turkey. That's when you start to actually work a little bit more in terms of terrain and come up with kind of action moments. So while we're here, let's talk a little bit about our diversion strategy. Because we talked about what we do came. So let's say we can fill in right now. I'd set both the engines on maximum series thrust. What that does is, if the live engine, one of the engines is gone, it's already gone, so the other one's going to work as hard as it can. And essentially what that does is it minimizes the rate at which I lose the speed. And then I'm going to be watching the speed to see how quickly I'm losing it or not. And it seems that I have a little bit of time before it gets to green dot speed. I am going to go ahead and then I'm wondering if I can actually do a what if here. That's quite interesting. So what's the situation? Oh, is it not possible? Okay, anyway. Outside the range of the EORs. Okay. Check. airway now is selected. Good. That's a fuel more 70.3, 63.2. Good. That's pretty good to know. So if I had a failure now, I talked about max cruise thrust, but now I'm going to watch how the speed bleeds off. When it hits green dot, I'm going to open it. I'm going to pull speed, pull all speed, so we can use an green dot speed. I'm going to go ahead and set it all speed. I don't know, 1250, 240. I don't know the capability. Now max is 219. Yeah, so let's start with 240. Whatever is lower than RVSM. I'm just going to go ahead and set that. This is going to give us some time. So the airplane is then going to start drifting down really slow, not descent, just trying its best to keep its altitude, but not reach no some too much. We're not going to be able to take it since we know. Crank a right turn over the heading, right turn 30 degrees, so it's going to be heading roughly about 330. I'll wait until we are about, then I'll go in, I'll set the offset 5 miles and back to 1.5, so it's going to offset to the right by 5 miles from the center line. Again, this depends on how quickly we're able to do this. And then we're going to take a look at the engine again. Let's go on, go through the parameters, see if it's an engine that needs to be implemented quickly or not. If it is an engine that needs to be implemented quickly, most likely we'll shut it down. Shut down, and once the shutdown is complete, I'll pull the multi again, hand the speed, and now we're going to go back to idle thrust here. So we can do a quick descent to flat landing to 290. Once we are at 290, or below, in our case, we're going to try, once we're below 290, we're going to go back to max cruise thrust, and try to get to 209, and then start a right turn to head back to Phuket, where there is help over here. And the whole time we're going to be trying to reach hello, Phuket, hello. Hopefully we get them, but most likely it's not going to be this. Yeah, so it's good. So all of that's cleared, so it'll show me where this goes by. And that's how we went over to Phuket. What altitude is okay with it? So we had Milan. Doesn't say there's an airway Papa 627 that goes that way anymore, so we can maybe select that airway. We're not too far, we're still within Lumpur FIR, and we might just be able to stay in contact with them and get a reclear. So once we're heading to Phuket, we'll do a check there as hotel. We'll make a PA, we'll advise a cabin crew, we'll advise a company, we'll do Phuket. Everything's going to be nice and easy. Just had that now. We talked about just so landing would be in Phuket will be 17.2 tons. So it's 1 ton less than saying. And I'm just going to do that performance calculation in SimBrief to see if we are in fact capable of doing that. I wonder if we're consistently having these problems with the stoppages of me and my little cutout here in the corner of the screen. I mean, if it's been happening the whole time, it seems quite annoying. And I do apologize for it. Why should it be deactivating? Alright, so yeah, I'm sorry if I keep getting stuck and you just hear me talk with my face stuck. It's quite annoying, honestly. Sorry, I was busy looking at the weather and the ability to vet to Phuket. So A350 900, you're ready to Phuket. Need to take us here, Papa. It's going to be early for 207. We're going to go with flaps 3, actually 2. It's going to be fairly no reverse credit, brakes any fault. Landing weight, let's say we're currently at 23.6 as it would be. But time light is less than 23.5. tell me I'm in excess of the limit, but that's okay. Oh, I'm not in existing landing. Okay, so no actual required factors yet. Have a 300 meter margin, so very easy to land. Okay, no problem. But this is maximum landing weight of the A350, so it's something I should be scratching down. So maximum landing weight is 27.9. Maximum landing weight 207 nada, and we already know maximum landing weight. No, not quite yet, so I'm not really sure why I can tell. Temporary excess instruction landing weight. Good. That's done. Everything's sorted. I don't really have much else to talk about. At this point, we just kind of chill, we enjoy ourselves, and then have a 10 minutes. Alright folks, thank you so much for joining me once again on the stream, and we'll catch you shortly before the arrival into Munich. You can expect me to come back on if I don't get called to work around, let's take a look, we're not going to do all that. I think you could expect to see me at 1750 ATC if I'm not called to work. If I am called to work, obviously I'll stop the flight and get to work. But it's been a pleasure having you all on board. And until the next time, thanks very much for joining me. One quick look at the aircraft from the outside before we head out. Get this because, or maybe you can see Star Alliance Singapore Airlines. I knew it looked a bit naked. I did get the impression it looked a bit naked, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I didn't realize why. So obviously the cutouts are all in the wrong place, but it still looks pretty impressive. The Airbus A350-900 from Singapore Airlines for our use. Thanks very much for joining me on the stream, folks. We'll see you next time around. Bye bye.